Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
How wonderful to be inside an air-conditioned room tonight and to celebrate Shabbat with all of you. For those of you who haven't joined us before, our service is participatory, and we hope that you will join with us in singing and reading and clapping and tapping your toes. If any of the melodies are new or unfamiliar, Cantor, what can they always say?
I'm sorry, I'm watching Michael dance a jig.
Well, they
don't
can
need to dance a jig. You can just
A
sing
salsa?
along, either with a salsa or a mamba. Or la la la. Your choice.
So the rabbis saw Shabbat as a romance with the Jewish people, which if you're working 6 days a week, you understand why Shabbat would be the object of your love and affection. And so many of the songs and the ways we talk about Shabbat is in the context of a love story. With Lecha Dodi, we refer to the Sabbath bride, and we rise when we welcome her into our midst. But tonight we start with, on page 128, with Yedid Nefesh, as we talk about the source of our delight. So I don't know if you've had a long week. I've had a long week, and I'm looking for a little Sabbath rest, a little Sabbath peace. And like our ancestors, I want to be a servant in the arms of Shabbat. Page 128.
Yedid nefesh harachaman, Yedid nefesh harachaman, Meshoch avdecha, Eretz zonecha, Meshoch avdecha, la 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 la, Eretz zonecha, Yaru avdecha.
Before we could welcome the Sabbath bride into our midst, we first have to create an environment that she's eager to enter, an environment where we actually know who we're sitting with and celebrating Shabbat with. So let's take a moment to wish each other a Shabbat Shalom, not the people we walked in with, but don't be afraid to get up and introduce yourself to those who are sitting around you.
That's fine.
So I should also say, don't be shy about it any time during the service. If you're new to the service and you're not sure where we are, our congregants are very sweet, very friendly. Don't be shy about going, where are we? I don't know. You don't know? Well, I think we're on page 138.
Don't worry, the rabbi will say soon what page we're on.
Sometimes. But don't be shy about asking the people near you where we are or what we're doing or even why. We continue on page 138 with Lecha Dodi, and we'll be singing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9.
Nice. Okay, I gotta start. La 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 Lecha Dodi. La 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 Likra Kala. La 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 B'nai Shabbat. B'nai Shabbat Nekabela. Shamor v'Zachor B'dibur echad. Ishmiyanu El HaMiyuchad Adonai echad U'Shemo echad L'Shemo tiferet v'lichila. Yai lai lai la 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 Lecha Dodi. La 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 Likrat Kala. La 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 B'nai Shabbat. B'nai Shabbat Nekabela. Likrat Shabbat. Lechu v'nelecha. Ki hin lekol haberacha. Merosh mikedem mesukam. Sof na'aseh b'machshava tefila. Yai lai lai la 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 Lecha Dodi.
La 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 Likrat Kala.
La 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 B'nai Shabbat. B'nai Shabbat Nekabela. Hitoreri. Hitoreri. It was a mistake. Kiva ored. Kumi ori. Uri, Uri. Shir daberi. Kevod Adonai. Alaich nigla. La la la. La 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 la
Lecha
Dodi.
La 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 Likrat Kala.
La 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 B'nai Shabbat now. B'nai Shabbat Nekabela.
Boi לשלום, עטרת בלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה.
La 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 Lecha Dodi. La 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 Likrat Kala. La 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 B'nai Shabbat. B'nai Shabbat
In addition to having Shabbat to celebrate on this weekend, we are also joyful to have the opportunity to celebrate the bat mitzvah of a young adult in our congregation. And it is with joy that I invite Abigail to join us on the bima in honor of her becoming a bat mitzvah. And it's also with joy that we invite her parents, Karen and Judah, and her sisters, Lila and Evie, to also come and join us on the bima. We continue with Shalom Aleichem on page 142.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bochem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Azish. Just all of you.
Todos.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we by our lives give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light.
Amen. Barchuni l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bochem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
We rise for the Baruch Hu on page 146.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Please be seated.
We continue with the Ma'ariv Aravim together on the top of page 49. Please join me. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars, creator of the tide of time and light. You guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ariv Aravim.
Who knows how long I've loved you? who knows I love you still. While I wait a lonely lifetime, if you want me to, I will. For if I ever saw you, I didn't catch your name, but it never really mattered. I will always feel the same. Love you forever and forever. Love you with all my heart. Love you whenever we're together. Love you when we're apart. And when at last I find you, your song will fill the air. Make it loud so I can hear you. Make it easy to be near you. For the things you do endear you to me, oh, you know I will. La-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da, la-da-da-da-da-da-dee. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed.
We continue together on page 154 with the Ve'ahavta. So Cantor will start it. Ready? Of course you're
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. Amen.
We continue together on the top of page 157. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. Page 158.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי kamocha nedar bakodesh nora tehilot osef eleh nora tehilot osef eleh. Won't you help me sing these songs of freedom? It's all I ever can. Redemption song. Malchutecha ro'u banecha bokei hayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam Zeili anu be'ameru Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Won't you help me sing these songs of freedom? It's all I ever had. Redemption song, redemption song, redemption song. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
So sometimes the prayers we sing, the words can be found in the prayer book, and sometimes we could kind of find them in the prayer book.
Creative.
And as we sing together the Hashkivenu, you'll find that the Hebrew can be found on page 160, but the English will be a slightly different translation. So if you find yourself at a loss at finding the words, don't worry about it. Just allow yourself to listen, to soak it in, and to ask yourself what these prayers, what these words mean to you. Page 160.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom B'amideinu malkeinu lechayim. Spread the shelter of your peace over us. Guide us in wisdom, compassion, and trust. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom B'amideinu malkeinu Save us for the sake of your name. Shield us from hatred, sorrow, and pain. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom B'amideinu malkeinu lechayim.
It's my pleasure to invite up our B'nai Mitzvah students to join us on the bima. Good, I wasn't sure if they were coming up. And we continue with Vishamru on page 162. Please join us.
Veshamru b'nei Yisrael HaShabbat לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
Please rise for the tefillah on page 164.
Adonai sefatai tiftachu fi agidei lateka. Adonai, open my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei Hakol, Vezocher Chasdei Avot B'imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei B'neihem, Lema'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Bezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayei Hakol, Atah Rav Le'Oshia, Morid Atah, Mekakel Chaim Bechesed, Mechayei Hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim verofei cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato lishanei afar, Mi kamocha ba'gevurot, Umidomevach, Melech minit umechayei, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'nemanata lechayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayei hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, U'kadoshim b'kol yom, Yehallelucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh.
We continue praying privately from page 172 through 180, either standing or sitting as is your custom.
shalom bimroma. Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael ve'yimeru amen. Oseh shalom bimroma. Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimroma. Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael ve'yimeru amen. Oseh shalom bimroma. Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimroma. Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Ve'imru amen.
Our thoughts and prayers now turn towards those who are in need of healing, a healing of body or a healing of spirit. We take some time in every service to stop and to hold those people in our hearts, but it's a reminder to us not only to pray for those who are in need of healing, but also to do something to help, to assist. So as you're thinking about the people in your life who are in need of a refuah shlema, a healing of body or spirit, ask yourself how from this Shabbat to next, how can you take the time to reach out to them, to be there for them, to help and to support them at a time that may be difficult. We continue together on page 371.
Mi sheberach avoteinu Avraham, Yitzchak veYaakov. Mi sheberach imotenu Sarah, Rivka, Leah, Rachel. May the one who blessed our mothers, may the one who blessed our fathers, hear our prayer.
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 Hear our
Hear our
prayer.
prayer.
And bless us as well.
Bless us with the power of your healing. Bless us with the power of your hope. May our hearts be filled with understanding and strengthened by the power of your love. Bless us with a vision for tomorrow. Help us to reach out to those in pain. May the warmth of friendship ease our sorrow. Give us courage, give us faith, show us the way. Mishaberach avotenu, Mishaberach imotenu.
Hear our prayer.
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 portion, this week's Torah portion is Parshat Ve'etchanan. It's the second Torah portion in the book of Deuteronomy. I've always found it a bit strange that we call the Tanakh, or not the Tanakh, sorry, the Torah, the 5 books of Moses. Because if you look at the first 5 books of the Torah, they are not the 5 books of Moses. In fact, it's really only Deuteronomy that is Moses' book. In Genesis, what we have is an introduction pretty much to the entire Tanakh. It kind of sets the stage. It's the prelude. It's the prehistory to what is going on in the whole rest of the story. It tells us who the cast of characters are going to be. In Exodus, Leviticus, and Numbers, it takes us through the epic tale of the Jewish people that shapes us for the whole rest of our history of going from slavery to freedom and all the crankiness in between. Sets the story of who we're going to be. A lot of complaining goes on Exodus through Numbers. However, in the book of Deuteronomy, what we hear is Moses' voice. Everything else in Exodus, Leviticus, and Numbers is, and God spoke to Moses saying, and we're hearing the story from somebody else's, from an outside, omniscient narrator's view. But in Deuteronomy, we hear Moses speaking directly to the Israelites. This is his final oratory to the Jewish people before they're going to enter into the land of Israel. He knows that he's not going to be there to enter with them. And it is, in essence, his mission statement. It's kind of like a parent on their deathbed saying to the child all the things that they hope that that child will never forget. And that's what Moses does in Deuteronomy. He reminds us of the highlights of our history, things that are critical for us to remember to understand who we are. He reminds us of the most important laws. He repeats, and there's repetition for much that comes earlier, including repeating of the 10 Commandments. But there's also things that are new, that are him telling us. And amongst that, what we have is the Shema and the Ve'ahavta. So if you want to get a closer look, so actually it's only the first part, it's only the first half of the Ve'ahavta that's from Deuteronomy. Other parts come from other parts of the Torah. But Deuteronomy 6, 4 through 9. Karen, are you familiar with this text? A little bit? She'll be one of our Torah chanters tomorrow. But the first part is, this is new to Moses. And so if this is too far away from you, you have exactly what I'm showing you in your prayer books on page 154, and you can see everything up close. So one of the things that we see, let me see if I can make that bigger. A little bit bigger. There we go. Michael Hersher, would you mind coming to the microphone for me? Can you read, oh, I'm putting you on the spot. Maybe I should make Cantor do this. Can you read the Hebrew of verse 4 and verse 5? You don't have to chant it, but I know you could.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu.
Except this isn't on.
Oh.
Except it's not on. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu. Ve'ahavta Adonai. Adonai Echad, yes, of course. Ve'ahavta
Okay,
et
actually,
Adonai
I'm gonna
Elohecha.
Stop right there. What's missing? Do we usually? Wait, I heard somebody say, what's missing? Keep going. Right, we're used to saying Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed between the Shema and the Ve'ahavta. So some of you may have noticed that in certain congregations we sing the Shema very loudly. Cantor, can I put you on the spot and make you demonstrate?
Shema Yisrael.
Okay, so that's good. Now can you sing the next verse? Could you hear her? Okay, so that's actually how it's sung in a lot of congregations. And it's to distinguish the Shema, which is in the Torah, and the Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed, which is not. It's kind of an interruption between the Shema and the Ve'ahavta, because I so wish we did this in Jewish synagogues. We're much too staid. But has anyone ever gone to like a Black Baptist church? When the minister talks, what does he or she get?
Hallelujah.
Amen. Hallelujah. They get a response. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto is the Jewish version of that. And it's very sad that it's Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. I would like something with a little more energy. But that's basically what it is. It's the Jewish version of going, oh yeah, that is it. That's what that response is. And we'll see different responses in different services. So for instance, in the Torah service, we don't say Baruch Shem Kavod after Shema. What do we sing? No, Echad Hu Eloheinu.
Oh, in the Torah service.
Yeah,
I thought you meant in the Torah
No,
itself.
Torah service.
Echad Eloheinu Gadol Adonenu Kadosh Shemo.
So it's another one of those responses where we're saying, yep, God is one. Wouldn't it be much more fun if we had more energy during our services? So much more fun. And so there's a break there because we always distinguish what comes from the Torah versus what we're putting in there. And so the Shema and the Ve'ahavta are actually seen as one prayer, that just as they come to us in the Torah as a single unit, they're usually presented to us in prayer, except for the Torah service, as a single unit. Now, I want us not to look at the Shema so much as in this context, really what's going on. Remember, Moses is speaking to the Israelites. They're a rather unruly bunch. They complain a lot. Has anyone ever taught junior high? It is very similar. Where you're constantly having to say, hey, look up here. And in this context, I really think that's what Moses is saying. Moses is saying, hey, pay attention, because this is important. So let's look and see what he felt was so important. Let's look at the English translation of it. Steve, would you mind reading this one for me? It's in your book if it's easier to read. Thanks. I'll try to make that a little bit bigger up there. I don't know.
You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. Take to
So
heart.
actually, let's stop. Let's go with that. What does that mean? Does anybody have any thoughts about what does it mean to love God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might? And even with the might, that's, in different books, it's translated different ways. In the Hebrew, it's me'odecha. Does anyone know what me'od means? A lot. Me'od means a lot. So it's saying with your allotness. Love God with your allotness. Does that sound a little odd? No? What is Moses telling us here? And do you want me to make it more confusing for you? In the time of Moses and in the time of the Talmud, heart did not mean emotions. The heart was where they saw the center of your intellect. That just as we use our mind as, well, not as a euphemism, but we talk about the mind being the source of logic, that was how they viewed the heart. So with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. I want you to think about that, because then the next words help us try to understand it. Steve, could you keep going from take to heart?
Take to heart these instructions with which I charge you this day. Impress them upon your children.
Okay, so stop for a second. Who is making this charge? Who's giving us this commandment? Moses. We're getting a commandment here, not from God, but from Moses. Now, think about it. If the Bible was telling you to do something, or your dying father was telling you to do something, which would have more import? Probably the second. There would be an extra emotional pull. So here we have Moses, who has come to the end of his leadership, end of 40 years in the desert, and he's telling the Israelites, please take this to heart and do what I'm asking you to do. Steve?
Recite them when you stay at home and when you are away, when you lie down and when you get up. Bind them as a sign on your hand and let them serve as a symbol on your forehead. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates.
So what is Moses talking about here? What is he asking us to do? What does it mean to impress them upon your children? How do we impress something upon our children? Right? So repetition, that is exactly what the text is talking about. Veshinantam levanecha actually means, in the Hebrew, that's what it says, that you shall teach them diligently. It means again and again and again and again. So everybody here, I assume, has had at least one parent in their life. Think about the things that your parents said to you over and over and over and over about. Those are usually the things that they care about. Don't leave your room a mess. Do your homework. Don't hit your brother. You know, the things that they're repeating over and over. Am I the only, I didn't actually hit my brother, but one of my brothers hit the other brother. That's what I'm referring to there. And I know they're watching, so they know which one is which. They're watching on Zoom, or not Zoom, on the live cast. But think about that. Why did your parents say those things to you over and over and over? No thoughts? Say that again? To remind us of who they are, and also because that's how we learn. I remember my grandmother being so mad at me for years about how messy my room was and leaving clothing on the bottom of my closet and all of these things. And then I moved out and I went to college and I organized my closet exactly the way that she had drilled into me to organize my closet. And I remember thinking, oh man, she won. Because when you repeat stuff, it's in there. Now keep in mind, the Ve'ahavta, the rabbis understood this as well. How many times a day are we supposed to, if you're praying the amount of times you're supposed to, right, Steve? How many times are we supposed to say it every day?
3 times.
When do we say it?
In the morning, in the afternoon service, and before bed.
Right, or evening service. In the evening service, and then when we go to sleep. So 3 times a day, the rabbis took this text out of the Torah and put it in our Siddur, in our prayer book, so that we wouldn't forget it. And the text goes a step further. Where do we see these words? Say it. On our doorposts. It's in the mezuzah. It's actually these words, the Shema and the Ve'ahavta, this section, that is in the mezuzah. So when the text tells us, bind them as a sign upon your hand and let them serve as a symbol on your head, it's talking about tefillin, about, you know, the leather boxes that we put on our arms and our foreheads. Many Reformed Jews don't know what I'm talking about. That's because we don't lay tefillin on Shabbat, and that's the primary day that we come to services, but you're supposed to put on tefillin Sunday through Friday morning during morning services. And inside those boxes is the same text that's in the mezuzah, which is, inscribe them on the doorposts of your house, on your gates. And so we're given reminders over and over and over. What is it that God wants us, or that Moses wants us to remember here? Go back to that first sentence. Steve, what does it say, the first sentence?
You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might.
So these are the words that Moses wants us to take to heart. But what does that mean? Did you like that? I'm very proud of my little graphic. Ooh, okay. Just want to make sure it got the attention it needed. So David Meltzer tries to translate it in this way, or to interpret it this way. The heart sees what the mind sees, what the eyes see differently. What is he saying here? How do we love God? With all the different ways we experience the world. Think about the ways that you go through the day. What are ways you experience the world? It's from what we see, it's what we feel when somebody gives you a hug or if somebody gives you a dirty look. It's how you interpret things. It's not just what you see, but how do you take that in? How do you process that information? It's about how we interact every single day, how we interact with other people. It's about how we interact with the world. But love itself, you shall love Adonai your God. Love is a strange thing, as it's written about in the Torah. We are not commanded to love our parents. We're not commanded to love our children. We're not commanded to love anybody who is close to us. We are commanded to love God and to love the stranger. what else are we taught about the stranger? We're not only supposed to love them, what else are we supposed to do for them? Feed them. What else do we do for them?
Wash their feet.
Wrong religion. Sorry, Michael.
Wash the feet.
Only the angels, and then we stopped that practice after that, okay? That was a different guy. We're supposed to treat the stranger as one of our own. There's supposed to be one law for the stranger and for the homeborn. We're supposed to treat them with justice, with fairness. We're supposed to bring them into our midst and to treat them almost like family. And from that, one of the things we understand is, what does it mean to love? Love is not like, oh, I love you, Cantor Julie.
I know you do.
That's not the love that it's talking about. The love that it's talking about is like, did you notice that, like, I lost my voice there for a little bit, and Michael ran up and he put water in front of me? He did something. Love is an action. Love is an emotion that we put into practice. It's what we do. It's how we treat people. So let's look at that again. You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. Julius Lester, a blessed memory. Where did I put my, oh, it was Steve. No, you can give it to your wife. I'll make Jane read. Julius Lester is one of my favorite authors. If you've never read any of his writings about Judaism, I highly, highly recommend it. And I thought he put it really beautifully here. Can you read that?
Yeah. Judaism is a doing which can be grasped only by the heart.
So how is he describing love?
It's an action.
It's an action. It's what you do. My grandmother, who comes up in many of my sermons, my grandmother used to say, show me that you love me. Don't just tell me that you love me. It's great to say the Shema. It's great to say the V'ahavta, but it means absolutely nothing if it's not backed up by action. If our prayers are only words, then what's the point? Jane, could you read Martin Buber's teaching?
Yeah. When people come to you for help, do not turn them off with pious words, saying, have faith and take your troubles to God. Act instead as if there were no God, as though there were only one person in all the world who could help, only yourself.
So what does this have to do with loving God? I heard somebody, but with the Mass, I can't tell who's talking. Who said something? Wait a second, let me get.
I don't know.
That love is action, not just toward other people, feeding them or sheltering them, but belief in God has to be evidence. You have to do something as well. Otherwise, just sitting around praying doesn't count. It's what the other people do. We do real things.
Right. Let me give you another example. Karen, you know I care about you, right? But if I cared about you and was really mean to Lila and ignored her, would you feel like I really care about you?
I'd be sad.
However, say I don't really pay attention to you, but to Lila, I help build her up, I encourage her, I support her, and I'm totally there for you. How would you feel?
Totally supported.
You would feel totally supported. You'd feel like there's another person on your team. And that's also what this is talking about. We are God's children. We are God's creations. So we could say to God, oh, I love you, but if then we're really mean to all of God's creations and we're littering and, I don't know, burning a lot of fossil fuels and destroying the ozone, or actually the ozone's not so much the problem, but other problems now. Just saying. Then we don't love God. We're not showing our love for God if we're not showing our love for those things that matter to God. So let's look at one more. Kanta, you want to help me out? Because I'm tired of going up and down.
You want to reread the last one? Abaye said, spread the love of God through your actions.
If you yourself study and help others to do so, if your business activities are decent and trustworthy, what will people say? Have you seen the behavior of one who studies Torah? How beautiful. What a fine person. Thus Isaiah taught, "You are my servant Israel. I will be glorified through you."
So part of why I love this one is because I grew up with the flip side of this. This is a very positive way of saying it. The way that I remember learning this teaching was more like you're watching the news and Bernie Madoff comes on, and he's like clearly Jewish. He is clearly corrupt. He's clearly done horrible things. And in my house it would be like, oi, this is what people are going to think the Jews are about. Whereas this is the flip side of that. This is saying, if you behave well, and people know that you are a person who studies Judaism, this reflects positively on God, and God feels better for it. I don't know how many other people have ever worn a kippah out in public, but if I'm someplace and I'm wearing my kippah, I make very sure that I am extra nice to people, that I do not cut off anybody off when I'm driving. I try not to anyway, but I really am more mindful of it, and I tip extraordinarily well. Because there's an understanding when you reflect yourself as being part of a religious group that it should mean something. And that if you make those words and those teachings empty, then that reflects on our faith as well. So let's look at an alternative translation, and let's conclude with this. Let's read this one together. This is also in our prayer book, so there's a, on page, I think it's on 155. This takes this idea of what it means to love God in a way that's closer to the way that we speak today. So feel free to join me. Love your God with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every conscious act. Keep in mind the words I command you today. Teach them to your children. Talk about them at work. Whether you are tired or you are rested, let them guide the work of your hands. Keep them in the forefront of your vision. Do not leave them at the doorway of your house or outside your gate. These are reminders to do all of my mitzvot, so that you can be holy for God. I am Adonai, your God. I led you out of Egypt to become your God. I am Adonai, your God. This prayer is the essence of what it means to be Jewish. It means not just pray, not just study, but live a life that reflects love, live a life that reflects meaning, live a life of intentionality. Shabbat Shalom. It is my pleasure now to invite up the president of our congregation. I don't know why I was about to call you Josh Sepulveda, Josh Masternardi, to come and please give Shabbat greetings.
Shabbat Shalom. So am I supposed to repeat all the important announcements 3 times?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you, Cantor. Thank you, Michael, for an awesome service. And Mazel Tov to Abby, Mazel Tov to Abby, and Mazel Tov to Abby on your bat mitzvah. Tomorrow morning, after services tonight, there'll be an oneg in the courtyard sponsored by the B'nai Mitzvah class in honor of Abigail's bat mitzvah. Tomorrow morning, 9:30 a.m. Torah study on Zoom, and at 10:30, the bat mitzvah of Abigail Grossman. The announcement sheet's actually pretty short tonight. I kind of miss getting to talk about camp and all the fun summer things, but I'm looking forward to very soon talking about religious school starting, and before you know it, the high holidays will be here. We do have an adult B'nai Mitzvah class coming up, starting in September. Check out all the details in the Hadashot if you are interested in that. And that's all the announcements. Abby, would you like to welcome your family?
Wait, just like you guys. You guys did. Okay, help me introduce them. Okay, so this is my mom, Karen, and this is my dad, Judah. And then this is Eve, my younger sister. Oh, this is Eve, my younger sister.
Hello.
And then this is Lila, my older sister. Okay. And then this is Ezra, a family friend.
Hi.
And his brother Jonah. Hello. And his mom Rachel.
Shabbat shalom.
And then this is a family friend Emmy.
Hey guys.
And her cousin Lucy.
Hi.
And I know, but do I say like?
Just say.
And then Pippa.
Hi.
And then Heidi.
Shabbat shalom.
And then Grandma Colleen.
Oh, it's wonderful to be here.
Okay. And Kinley.
Hello.
Okay. And Meyer.
Hello, hello.
Our cousins. And Cynthia.
Hello.
And then Sabrina and Lydia.
Hi. Hello. They wonderfully traveled here from Washington, D.C.
From Washington, D.C. And then Josh and Mary. Hello. Shabbat shalom.
And then we have more. We
Yeah, where are they? I don't know where they
Noah
were.
and Alec and Anna.
Oh, I think they went.
Wonderful. Good job.
Very, very good. Welcome all. And Judah, you can stay standing because I'd now like to ask members of the board and past presidents and committee chairs to stand and introduce yourselves.
Michael Hersher, lifelong learning. Chair. Lifelong learner.
Great. Well, feel free to come up and say hi to any of us at the ONEG, and Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Josh. Now, it's my pleasure to invite up our B'nai Mitzvah students to join us on the bima once again as we continue with our concluding prayers beginning on the bottom half of page 586. Please rise.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגור עלינו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובי מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, כך כתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום והשבות אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת עינות. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Please be seated.
Our thoughts now turn to loved ones who are no longer with us. And it is with sadness that we recall the recent passing of Renee Magrum, the beloved mother of Karen Mizzy, beloved mother-in-law of John Mizzy, and beloved grandmother for Sarah and David Mizzy. Also, with great sadness, we recall the recent passing of Neil Mayer, the beloved brother of Bonnie Penix. And also with sadness, we recall the recent passing of Ralph Lubick, the beloved husband of Laura Choate, beloved son-in-law of Arthur and Carol Choate. Also, sadly, we recall the passing of Joseph Miguel, the beloved grandfather of Benjamin Stewart, beloved grandfather-in-law of Janice Stewart, and beloved great-grandfather of Rhiannon, Shoshana, and Asher Stewart. Zichronam livracha, may their memories forever be a blessing. We also recall loved ones who have passed away at this time in years past. We remember Lawrence Bekowitz, Sarah Bendahan, Lillian Blumenthal, Benjamin Britwoods, Rosalind Brosen, Anita Buckholtz, Rosalind Kaplan, Ruth Drucker, Sylvia Feinberg, David Fram, Myrna Frankel, Samuel Freeman, Evelyn Friedman, Bernice Gannick, Philip Gottfried, Kate Harris, Bess Herman, Elizabeth Juha, Seymour Kaplan, Richard King, Barnett Kurtz, Leah Lamming, Devorah Lauder, Thomas Laws, Adeline Lerner, Goldie Lieberman, Paul Lindo, Abe Linker, Hyman Lombard, Cindy Mudrick, Leonora Resnick, Ira Rubin, Rebecca Rudman, Avram Samaville, Ilsa Sampson, Martin Scholder, Brian Smith, Alexander Spaeth, Ruby Steinberg, David Zeff, and Jean Zarabecki. If there are any names that anyone would like to add to the Kaddish list tonight, please feel free to call those names aloud as my gaze meets yours. If you are saying Kaddish for a loved one tonight, I'd like to invite you to please rise. And if the congregation can join me in these words of comfort. Hamakom yenechem etchem betok sha'ar of Leit Zion v'Yushalayim. May God comfort you among the mourners of Zion and Jerusalem. We rise as a community to offer comfort to those who grieve as we continue together on page 598. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chaye echon uv'yom echon uv'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam umei amaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitraman v'yitnaseh, V'yatadar v'yitalev v'yitolal shemei tekudsha barichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata damiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'mramav hu ya'asei shalom aleinu kol Yisrael. Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. And let us say, Amen. Michael, what beautiful music do you have for us to conclude our service with tonight?
Well, I didn't know what you were going to do your drash about. And so I picked a song, and it turns out it fits. It's just a miracle. But here's how it fits. You spoke a lot about how you have to do things. You have to do acts of love, and you have to offer help to people. But it's important sometimes that you ask for help so that people know when you need it. And sometimes that's really hard to do. So this is a song. It was written by Richard Farina, in the 60s. And it's about how sometimes you have to rely on the kindness of strangers. No use crying, talking to a stranger, naming the sorrows you've seen. Too many sad times, too many bad times, and nobody knows what you mean. So if you know the chorus, sing along. If somehow you could pack up your sorrows and give them all to me, you would lose them. I know how to use them. Give them all to me. No use rambling, walking in the shadows, trailing a wandering star. No one beside you and no one to guide you, and nobody knows who you are. But if somehow you could pack up your sorrows and give them all to me, you would lose them. I know how to use them. Give them all to me. It's good, you're getting it. No use gambling, running in the darkness, looking for a spirit that's free. Too many wrong times, too many long times, nobody knows what you see. But if somehow you could pack up your sorrows and give them all to me, you would lose them. I know how to use them. Give them all to me. No use roaming, lying by the roadside, seeking a satisfied mind. Too many highways, too many byways, nobody's walking behind. Last time. But if somehow you could pack up your sorrows and give them all to me, you would lose them. I know how to use them. Give them all to me.
That was beautiful, Michael. Thank you. And I have a long list of sorrows that I am more than happy.
Yes, I'm going to hand them
More than happy to give to you, Michael. We conclude with, do you want to do the
I
Kiddush?
will.
With the Kiddush and the Motzi before we could go outside and enjoy the wonderful oneg that is awaiting us. If you would like the words for the Kiddush, you can find them on page 123. Well, no, because I was thinking,
I know.
is it white wine or grape juice? We're about to see. Page 123, please join.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei per. You don't need to stand
You
up.
are supposed to stand for
Okay, you're having them now. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho באהבה וברצון הנחילנו, זיכרון למעשה וראשית, כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל עמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון Hinchaltanu, Baruch Atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen. L'chaim u'l'shalom.
Rachamim. Rabbi, can I say something quick? I just want to acknowledge the two people in the fourth row there. The one congregant through this entire service has been signing the whole service to her friend, to her mom, who is presumably hearing impaired, and I think that is incredibly beautiful. I mean, we have been watching this the whole time. It's visual. I've been mesmerized by the dancing of your hands. By the dancing of your hands.
It's beautiful. Ooh, ah.
So
Hard
if
as
you
a rock.
notice,
Yeah, we're not going to eat that.
this is not a tantalizing challah. Because of COVID, we don't have everybody come up and touch it, and isn't it? But what we do have, nice, soft, delicious challah that has not been touched by the cantor and I, that is sliced up and waiting for you out in the courtyard. So if you're looking at us touching this and you're like,
Even if we weren't touching it,
no, it doesn't look good. But if they were afraid to eat the sliced challah, this is not the one that
coming
will,
from here,
Yeah.
and it means well. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
B'tei Avot.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Please join us in the courtyard. Oh, there's a lot of bread.